We are running out of time. I have just over 24 hours before this car needs to be finished and out of here.
Our old friend Patrick has arrived to assist with the matters at hand.
In this E39, no one can hear you scream.
Welcome back to part 3 of the Unfaffening. In the last episode, we started ripping out the stupid coilovers from Faff, my 2001 BMW 540i with a 6-speed manual. It is an incredibly involved process on the E39, made even more complicated by Faff's age. Let's pick up where we left off last and continue putting in the new rear suspension.
Finally, we can start putting everything back together. New sway bar links from our friends at Unfaffening. Oh, I guess I don't need these. I know that these are the right ones. I checked the part number from RioAM. But these seem like they might be original because, I mean, look at this. Like, I don't think BMW has made this style of sway bar link in a while, where it's just a flat bar versus a reinforced one like this. That is all that we need to do at the moment, because now we can put the strut in. Okay, now I'm gonna climb up top, try to catch this and put like a nut on it. Trying to align this to this requires either two people or very long hands. We have a problem. As you can see, the strut is in. However, the knuckle won't go down far enough to meet it. And that's likely because when the previous owner replaced the suspension and put in the coilovers, he likely disengaged and then retorqued these bushings. So now they're preventing me from being at the right ride height. I could, of course, just try to jam this down all the way that I can and shove the shock in. However, as I mentioned earlier, the only thing that that's going to do is it's going to destroy these bushings. And I don't want to do that. So I guess I'm going to loosen these bushings, support this arm so it doesn't go fwah, and just destroy my brake lines, and then put the shock in. Then we should be okay. Hopefully. So this arm is used for alignment. So is this arm. You can tell because they have eccentric bolts here. Or rather eccentric nuts, whatever. So I slightly loosened the bushing on this arm, which gave me enough leverage to push down the knuckle and put the shock bolt in. So now I'm just going to tighten it all up, and off we will go.
We are running out of time. I have just over 24 hours before this car needs to be finished and out of here, and so along with all of the rest of my things. Luckily, there's really not very much left to do. It doesn't really need very much torque. I could replace this, of course. You know that I have one, but I don't really see the point. I mean, apart from being dirty, it's working fine. I don't have any need to replace it at the moment. Maybe down the line when we're back here again. But right now I'm on a very limited time frame, so I don't really have the time to look for this. I had to remove this arm on this side to get the shock out. The reason for that is because on this side is where the fuel inlet pipe and everything is. So you actually have even less room to maneuver. So to give myself some space, I took this out and, well, that helped. Inspecting this arm, I don't see any issue. This bushing doesn't seem to be cracked or anything like that.
Really?
It is just dirty. And this ball joint seems to be in decent shape as well. So I see no need to replace this arm. There you go. It's important that you put it in correctly. This sleeve faces the direction of travel, and also the bolt head faces the direction of travel. and the nut is put on the back. This is one of those bolts, unfortunately, that has to be tightened when the car is supporting its own weight. I have no idea how we're going to do that, but we're going to figure it out. Next, we have to attach this nut. It's a little bit tricky because you have to hold this hex flat here and then tighten it. Wow, that arm is not fun to remove.
With the control arm back in the car, it was a relatively simple matter of releasing the tension on the other side and installing the shocks. Then, an old friend and previous owner of this car arrived to help out.
Everything that can be torqued while the car is not on its own weight has been, and our old friend Patrick has arrived to assist with the matters at hand. I have to get out of this garage today. Tomorrow, actually, but today. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the rest of the car back together, take on the not at all tedious process of reinstalling the interior, and then we're going to try to clean up this area here. Patrick, any words of wisdom? How did you feel when I showed you just how much of the interior had to come out?
It was a little shocking. There's a bit more than I was expecting for the interior to be removed.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever taken out the rear suspension of your Volkswagen Jetta?
Yes.
And what does that comprise?
Nothing to do with the interior.
So it's a normal car then?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. This is such a stupid design. Let's get gloved up and we'll put on the wheels, take the car off the stands and continue with our plan. Are you breaking things, Patrick? Have you happened to notice that the car is raised correctly?
I see the jack stand is not in the car.
Yes, we have avoided causing thousands of dollars of body damage. One day I will stop making that joke when it's not funny anymore. I pick you up by the diff, baby. Is all this good? Okay. I mean, it is obviously higher.
See, this is a reasonable ride height.
This, well, it's a little bit higher than it should. It'll settle once we move it around. This is what, roughly, a 540i with a sport suspension should look like. Because this is now a 540i with sport suspension. There we go. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side.
Faff had been in the bunker for so long without starting that the battery had died. And, unfortunately, my facilities manager, your narrator, forgot to put the jump pack on the charger. So that was dead as well.
Ah, what an annoying thing you are. We're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way.
Holy crap. Just leave the X5 there.
And so, after Patrick had a great laugh at how long my jumper cables were, we brought in the gray lady, rearranged the cars, and I jumped underneath to get tightened.
Very good. I'm gonna move this back out. All right. This one sucks, but I'm gonna try to make it work.
Is your mic recording?
I believe so. So we torque by the nut, and it is imperative that you get as much rust in your eyes as possible. Of course, we may be here a while. Fuck me.
You good?
Yeah, I just got punched in the face with an 18mm wrench. Luckily, my glasses absorbed most of the fall. Jesus Christ. I loosened this bolt to let this swing arm drop, so now I have to tighten it. Enough! Ow! I'm fine. It's more my dignity than anything. That
one sucked. That one sucked a lot. Do you ever lay under the car and just wonder why you're doing any of this? And just think, is any of this really worth it? What am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for?
You could be going to...
Ow!
Jesus Christ.
And then you punch yourself in the face with a half-inch torque wrench. Ow!
Now imagine this. You could be going to a Toyota dealership for Toyotathon right now. Purchasing a brand new vehicle.
Frustratingly, Faff decided to throw another wrench at me, and somehow it hurt much more than the half-inch torque wrench that I punched myself in the face with. The bolt I was tightening for the swing arm had been over-tightened one too many times in its life, so it stretched and broke off entirely. This was a big issue. I needed to get out of the garage in a matter of hours, and it was a Sunday, and no dealer was open. So off Pat and I went to the hardware store, and through some sort of miracle found an appropriately sized and graded bolt to put in the car. But by that time, it was getting later in the day and Patrick had to go back to Connecticut, so I was left by myself. We rejoined the action here, where I've already installed the new bolts.
Our next task is to tighten the bolts on the shocks themselves.
I have to pause the action here as well because I made a huge mistake. In my rushed state, I didn't check that the shock was attached to the steering knuckle correctly. The knuckle and the shock have mating surfaces that should line up perfectly, like on this diagram. What had actually occurred was more like this. I should really know better than to work under pressure like this and not double check my work, but somehow I just wasn't thinking about the what ifs, and I thought that I could just knock the shock into place. That didn't quite work. Miraculously, I wasn't injured, and the car seemed okay as well. Nothing was bent, nothing was broken, so I set on the road to repair. I raised the car from the ramp, took off the wheel, and properly seated the shock body to the knuckle.
I can't believe you tried to kill me, you fucker. After everything I've done for you.
This is another lesson on why you should always be safe.
10 minutes later, I was back where I started. Once the suspension was on tightly, I could finally proceed to finish off the rest of the work and get Faff out of the bunker.
Now that the suspension components are all tightened up correctly, and the car hasn't actually killed me, we can continue on the interior. Interior time. Alright, since these are all torqued, I'll put this insulation back where it's meant to be, safely. We have to make sure that it's able to deaden the sound. In this E39, no one can hear you scream. The speakers. The seatbelt. It's quite a hefty boy, that. These little fellers. Has a little edge here. There is a corresponding hole on the bodywork where that actually goes in. Connect the speaker. Seatbelt attachment actually has the same thing, but it's backwards. The hole is on the seatbelt module itself, and the ridge is on the bodywork. So once you line up the bolt hole, you'll need to make sure that the tab is inside here as well. You'll know that it's right because it won't be able to move. When you attach the speakers, you'll notice that this tab actually goes into some of the trim on the rear deck, so make sure that that's in place correctly. I think it's time for the panel to go back on. Now let's put the C pillar trim back in place. There it is. I knew it was in there. Other side going in. Hey! Really? Are you kidding me? The seatbelt thing just broke. I don't even know how. That's really annoying. Right. That's sorted. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to be back in here. I bought all of these clips, but I didn't bring them with me. Now we put the seatbelts in. When you're working in an old car like this tool is really invaluable. You put it in first into that clip, and then you kind of smack it in place. And then that's good. That's it. Same exact thing on the other side. So honestly, I don't remember what these are for. And I don't remember what their orientation is supposed to be. So, because I can't really look that up right now, but I'm going to get some of these new trim panels from a dealer. And in the meantime, maybe somebody can tell me what these things are for and which way they're supposed to be oriented. Because I don't know. I don't remember. Neither of these look right to me, but whatever. Now we can put the seat bottom onto this now free of rock salt and acorns and such seat. Nice. There we go. And there we go. Let's put our headrest back. And there you have it, folks. A completed rear suspension. With that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Not because we've covered so much. I mean, realistically, we just did the rear suspension. Now, because I had to get out of the old garage in such a hurry, I still actually have a few things that I want to get done on the rear suspension, but we'll take care of that in a future time. As far as the unfaffening goes, part 4 will include a lot of stuff. I have a ton of parts on this shelf here, and while yes, many of them are for the timing chain guides and other big jobs, there are so many small things that have just been annoying the hell out of me on this car, like this one, and this one, and that, and even this one. So we're going to try to take care of as many of those as possible in Unfaffening Part 4. I am getting so close to being able to just get in this car and drive it without having to think about all the things that I have to do differently because it's a project car. I am very excited for that. But if you've been following my Instagram, you will know that we have another problem. It's big, it's gray, and it's right there. This gentle beast is running on but one cylinder at this point, and to be honest, I don't know why. We're gonna get started very shortly on tearing down everything in this car and trying to figure out if the engine in it is still viable. If it is, we will do our best to bring it back to life. And if it's not, well, a new M54 is probably in our future. Or maybe it's not an M54 at all. I don't know. We'll see. It's really just a function of money. I am an optimist, so I hope for good news. While I am also expecting that there is a very real possibility we will be doing an engine swap on this, because I'm not letting it go. I love this car. It represents everything that I hate about cars in general, but somehow it is such a nice car to drive. I don't like any other crossovers. I don't like the later X5s. I like this X5 and only this one. So I don't know why that is. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thanks especially to these names on the screen right here. These are my patrons. They are supporting this channel on YouTube. They are helping me make all this content happen for you, viewer, so I owe them a great deal of gratitude. If you're interested to see more frequent updates on the goings-on at Skelly's Garage of this car, that car, any of the other vehicles in the fleet, especially ones that haven't gotten particular media coverage, then make sure to follow Skelly's Garage on Instagram, where I post a lot more frequently. As a matter of fact, just today we had a specter of Skelly's Garage past right here in this garage's driveway. So that was exciting. And finally, if you enjoyed this video or any of the other videos in the Unfaffening series or Skelly's Garage in general, please like and subscribe. See, I said the words. I said the words. It's gonna happen now, right? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. My name is Sam. This is Skelly's Garage. That's the Gray Lady. This is Faff, and we'll see you next time. It looks so good. It looks so good. Doesn't it look so good?